Hi there. Today we're going to have a look at the OBS Studio. It's called Open Broadcasting Studio, and this software will help you produce professional broadcast material online through pre-recorded session or either straight into Zoom or your own Facebook and YouTube broadcast. So this software allows you to do that. Of course, the first thing you need to do is download OBS. The OBS can be found online. Just do a search for OBS Studio and you'll be presented with the screen. So this is OBS Studio, and you download your flavor of operating system. So if you have a Windows, you select Windows, and if you have a Mac, select Mac, obviously, and just download it, and you just follow the instructions on the installer and it will help you install OBS. That's quite straightforward. Now, to launch OBS, and let's see where I put my OBS. That one there. Okay, there we go. So that's OBS. OBS, once you launch OBS, you'll get a screen similar to what I have here. So the controls for OBS. So you have a start broadcasting or start streaming, and then you have the other one called stop recording, studio mode, and you have settings. The first thing you need to do is go into settings. Once you are in settings, for the standard layout, default theme is dark, so you can choose whatever themes you like. I prefer the dark theme, so I won't change that. So just wait for a while, it's starting to think. There we go. And I normally don't change anything on the front screen here. Important part you need to change is your streaming information. So this is where you stream to your Facebook or YouTube. If you look at the service, there are several in here ready for you to go. So I'm using restream.io simply because Restream allows you to do multicasting. So I've got YouTube and Facebook set up at the back end, allowing me to transmit one point to multiple point destinations. You can leave that aside. You don't have to bother about that first until you really want to stream. In output section, make sure one of the things which I find is that always change your encoder to a hardware encoder rather than a software encoder. So if you use a hardware encoder, that releases some of your CPU time in processing, so it doesn't lag your system. Again, you can rescale your output to a 1920 by 1080. So incidentally, Facebook only takes on 720 pixels. So hence that's basically a 1280 720 1280 by 720 resolution for a 720 scale on transmission. And you have a look at my bitrate here. I've put in a 6000. By default it will tell you to put in about 2500. So a higher bitrate will basically allow for more data to pump through. Again, a higher bitrate means more bandwidth needed. Now you can throttle your bitrate to a certain speed, then that's great, but otherwise that. Now for you to transmit to Facebook, you will need to make sure you have a keyframe of 2. By default that's what they need. You can set to auto if you like, but for 2 seconds that's generally what Facebook requires. Now I set my profile setting to high. High means I would use less CPU, and it will just push whatever data that's in there, quickly push it through to the network, and then it goes out. And then next bit is the audio. Now I've got a virtual audio system set up, so I'm using a Mac and I'm using a black hole 16-channel virtual audio system, which basically allows me to create an aggregate of audio across the different streams. I can explain to you what these are later on. I'll explain to you what OBS first. Once I will talk about virtualization of your audio and your ports and things like that in a separate topic. And this is your sound card. I've got a sound card, a USB sound card, which allows me to plug in my audio. And for the monitoring device, I left it the default. For your video settings, again, this is where you do your scaling for your video resolution. So I've left it at 1920 by 1080. That's the canvas resolution, but however when it sends it out, sends it out at 1980 by 720. That's what you need. Now this is the scale. This is a filter scaling. So what it does is it prevents loss of data when it's transmitting across the network. So this is an algorithm which has 4 algorithms in there, which I can't show you just yet because I'm actually using it to record this particular session, but there are 4 settings in there. A frame rate of 30 is recommended, or 29.97 generally. It's accepted by Facebook. The higher your frames, the higher resolution, of course, and the higher cost of bandwidth. So these are hotkeys you can set up for your system. So you can use like Shift E or Shift R or things like that for your setup to start a stream or to end a stream or to do buffers. And so there's a whole listings in here for your scenes and for your sources. Once you've done that, another bit is I like to show you is one thing which I normally do is in the network section. I would normally bind a specific IP address to the OBS. Now I'm running two connection on my my setup. One connection is Wi-Fi and the other one is Ethernet. So I have bounded the OBS to go through Ethernet simply because there's less probability of any downtime in regards to Wi-Fi has downtime. But when it comes to a hard cable to the router straight away, so it's less of a problem that it will fail. So I'm trying to minimize failure during the transmission. Once you have done that, just press OK and you're good to go. So this is what it looks like in OBS. Okay, now we talked about the controls already. To have a look at the center part of your OBS system, you've got here in the middle here, right there, that's your audio settings. Whatever audio you set up originally, it will pop up here in the audio mixer. In the section here, it says sources. These are where your source are, where you are drawing your video and your audio and other materials into your broadcast in this location. Scenes, as it says, is a scene. So you can set up multiple scenes and swap between scenes. For example, if I want to go to scene number 2, I just click scene number 2 and you have a new scene coming up there. If I go and bring it back again, so automatically it comes in again. So that's how you switch between scenes and present to your viewers what you want to show in its different scenes. Now in sources here, if you do a plus, there are heaps of sources in here which you can use to publish or broadcast your content. So in here you've got image, display capture. So each one of them performs a specific task. As the name implies, it exactly does that. Now if you notice, I've got an NDI source here. This is a separate, which you won't get in a default setup in your OBS. This is a plugin which I've installed. If you go back into your OBS website, you'll find a resource section right at the bottom of that home page, and go in there and you can search for multiple plugins which you can use for your broadcast. This is a text-free type text. I'm going to show you how it works. I'm going to do a default. I just type in here, this is default text. Click that, it will show up there at the bottom. I can adjust this obviously and tell it to do whatever I want to do. Now I can also make it scroll. How do I make it scroll? I right click on it, I go to filters again, and in filters you find a lot of things in here which you can use, and one of them is called scroll. Right? Obviously I won't rename that. If I were to move this horizontal speed, right, and it starts scrolling. Not happy with that, I can put spaces. So I notice it gets smaller and smaller, and this time around if I bring it in there, you got yourself scrolling text. So there's other sources you can put in as well. You can put in Siphon client, for instance. A Siphon client is, example, you have an external camera via a USB connection somewhere. Could be a DSLR, could be things like that, and you can pump in straight into here. You can have a big massive TV camera that uses a Siphon server, which you can pull in from there and present to you in OBS. So OBS is that powerful to allow you to present things. So that's basically the basics of OBS. if you have any questions, just give me a buzz. I will talk about the rest, like the audio, the virtual audio, and things like the siphon client, the siphon server, how you set it up. So there are more things which you can learn from OBS. But basically, that's OBS. Is how what I just showed you should allow you to get to speed in regards to publishing a very simple content. As you know, currently I'm just recording this session using OBS. So I hope to catch you later. So if you have any questions, just post it to me via Messenger. I'll respond to you as quickly as I can. So thank you very much.